Mahadevi or Mahadeviyaki. Again, I apologize if I am butchering pronunciations. Interesting poet. A little bit more mystical, a little bit more mysticism happening here. A very human voice, a very immediate voice of passionate and even desperate yearning. A declaration of how insignificant perhaps humanity is in relation to God, a desperation of or a declaration of the torturous incompletion of the individual self without God. God completes her in whatever troubling relationship you might assume with that. The social realism is really only perceptible on a symbolic level. You can read it, all of these turbulent times, hints going on behind a veil of mysticism and symbolism, representation. And while that can make it a little bit more frustrating to see that, well, is it about anything other than this woman who seems a little desperate sometimes, a lot desperate most of the time? But by leaving that, what it's doing also, by making that so indeterminate, so uncertain as to what she's actually talking about behind all of the emotionalism here, that process is empowering for the reader, because you have to figure it out for yourself. What is she talking about? Is she talking about anything other than her own emotional imbalance from time to time? And that intersection of passion and desire within a physical realm and as a proxy, let's say, for a spiritual realm. And underneath it, you could say, is operating that same sense of insecurity and yearning on a social realm and a political realm. Like a silkworm weaving her house with love from her marrow and dying in her body's threads, winding tight round and round, I burn, desiring what the heart desires. Cut through, O Lord, my heart's greed, and show me your way out, O Lord, white as jasmine. Wow. I burn desiring what the heart desires. This lady's kind of warm. I think there is an undeniable sexual cast to this. The idea of desire is just dripping from this. When you desire something, you are necessarily incomplete. You are desiring someone else to complete you physically, emotionally, spiritually. She is here addressing, O Lord, generally, yes, a God figure. But that curious physicality that she talks about, that pops up in the character of her poems, makes you start to wonder about that. It's not necessarily an abstract thing. God is much more present in her conception. Cut through, O Lord, my heart's greed, show me your way out. Again, giving God orders. feeling empowered enough to demand God do something. That's a curious position, especially if you are so worshipful of this God. But that's part of the point. It's provoking. Show me your way out. Through a kind of divine ecstasy, show me how to get out. Out perhaps of a cycle of reincarnation, out perhaps of a troubling historical context, out of all of these worldly concerns in general, and how do I achieve a purer spiritual attainment? How do I mark progress? Not seeing you in the hill, in the forest, from tree to tree, I roamed, searching, gasping, my Lord, come show me your kindness. Till I met your men, I found you. You hide, lest I seek and find. Give me a clue, O Lord, white as jasmine, to your hiding places. Little stalker energy here. Little, bit clingy. There is very much that energy coming from this that you can map across a particularly personal realm, a somewhat scorned lover feel to it, but it is at the same time spiritual. It is seeking the solace of an experience of God. She desires closeness with God. Perhaps God can be a stand-in for another man. Perhaps that man can be a representation of God that's very indistinct as to which one she's talking about here. I think you can make an argument for either, and because the language is so suggestive, I think you're supposed to. But it's through that kind of spiritualism and the eroticism, you get this sense of an ecstatic experience of divinity. It's the notion of journeying, pilgrimage. She roamed, searching, gasping. This is somebody who is on a pilgrimage. This is somebody in the ascetic tradition who is punishing herself physically to try and chase a kind of divine enlightenment. Give me a clue to your hiding places, which sounds to me both desperate and a little predatory, like she is hunting God. It's troubling. You are the forest, you are all the great trees in the forest, you are the bird and beast playing in and out of all the trees. O Lord, white as jasmine, filled and filled by all, why don't you show me your face? More hide and seek going on here, essentially. More wilderness. She is searching through the wilderness. The ascetic pilgrims tended to wander around from place to place, as she did, as essentially homeless people, seeking enlightenment through a punishing of the flesh, a release of the spirit. You are all the great trees in the forest, you are bird and beast. Here we get a nice little hint at another theological belief, kind of quasi-animism, the belief that everything in nature is imbued with divine spirit, sometimes differentiated among them, sometimes a single God expressed through everything. Why don't you show me your face? Again, that insistence, that demand. You're questioning God. You're punching above your weight there. You feel empowered to question God. Or perhaps you cannot help but question God. That sense of victimhood comes back again. That sense of being out of control, out of your wits. Ecstatic. 4 parts of the day I grieve for you, 4 parts of the night I'm mad for you, I lie lost, sick for you, night and day. O Lord, white as jasmine, since your love was planted, I've forgotten hunger, thirst, and sleep. More wandering around, more desperation. Since your love was planted, natural imagery there. Also, perhaps, dare we say, a sexual image. 4 parts of the day I grieve for you, 4 parts of the night I'm mad for you. Another symbol there of trying to mark out time, but her ecstasy, her desire, her spirit is just running rampant over that. It doesn't have clean ends. It doesn't have, okay, my Google Calendar tells me now is the time to be ecstatic. No. It's just overwhelming the simple measurements of time. I've forgotten hunger, thirst, and sleep. She's denying her natural human or animal needs in pursuing spirituality. It is I find the word planted curious in that it is a natural, it is a reference to nature. And again, translation, very troubling, but it's a reference to nature, and it is about denying your natural animal needs. Question?
I'll answer the question you were saying. Like a lot of religious people, they want to hear from God. They want to know that God exists. So I think the girl, she's like trying to deprive herself of sleep and hunger. I mean, of food and stuff like that, to see if that would like allow him to come forward to her and be like, "Oh, my child, you need to do this and do that." Like, I guess
Sure.
she's trying everything to get his attention, to see if she's actually going to hear something. Maybe it's through delusion if you feel like I'm sleeping food. So
Yeah. This to go a little far into the contemporization of it. This is what it feels like to be ghosted. You know, you have a great time with some guy, and then the next day comes, you're looking at your phone. Do you call yet? Any text? Anything? Instagram? Nothing? Okay. Well, I'll put that away. I'm going to go do some other stuff. And then I'll come back. Oh, you check. No, not yet. Okay. Well, he's tired of the day. Don't want to seem desperate. Let's just put that away. I'm not going to look. I'm certainly not going to reach out. I'm not going to beg him. I'm not going to try and tip my hand that maybe I'm a little interested, but God, I am. Wah! But that's born of sudden separation and insecurity and uncertainty as to whether you meant anything to the other person at all. And you just take that and you transpose it to a spiritual realm, and it's the relationship that this woman feels with God. Am I of any value in God's eyes? Why won't he give me a sign? It's torturing me, physically and spiritually. But it's still the chasing of it, the pursuit, the progress towards it, or at least the impression of progress towards it, feels better than loneliness. Yes, excellent. because then you're at least participating in that moment that made you special. By dwelling upon it and saying, yeah, but we really clicked. We went out just that once, but man, we were just firing on all cylinders. I felt I had my soulmate. By remembering that and living in that mental space, checking your phone 500 times a day for the call that doesn't come, you are keeping that sense of finding a soulmate alive, as opposed to just saying, it was just another guy. All of this is going on here. He bartered my heart, looted my flesh, claimed as tribute my pleasure, took over all of me. I am the woman of love for my Lord, white as jasmine. Nice economic framing there. He bartered my heart, looted my flesh, also a little bit crime. Exploitation, perhaps, dare I say, rape, in an emotional way at least. Looted my flesh, claimed as tribute my pleasure, took over all of me. This entity, God, has ravished this woman and left her bereft of her senses. For hunger, there is the town's rice in the begging bowl. For thirst, there are tanks, streams, wells. For sleeps, there are the ruins of temples. For soul's company, I have you, O Lord, white as jasmine. Again, wandering the countryside as a ascetic, as a beggar, as a pilgrim, suffering physical hardship, great discomfort, pain, and misery in this world for the hope of progress towards the next, with just enough along the way to get by. If you're hungry, there's a begging bowl. You can get a few grains of rice. You thirsty? Tanks, streams, wells. It's water. Come on. For sleep, there are the ruins of temples. That's what homeless people have to sleep in. Ruins. But the ruins are significantly here temples. And that's not necessarily that they were once designated a temple by some institutionalized religion, but everywhere is a temple if you are filled with the Spirit. As long as you have your belief. For soul's company, I have you, O Lord. Again, passion, devotion, almost obsession, enough that it can drag you through all of this misery of the day-to-day world. But that is also predicated on separation. This is not a woman who feels the comfort and security of her beloved's care and guidance. But this is looking up and saying, oh God, why won't you give me a sign? Look at love's marvelous ways. If you shoot an arrow, plant it till no feather shows. If you hug a body, bones must crunch and crumble. Weld, the welding must vanish. Love is then our Lord's love. If you shoot an arrow, plant it till no feather shows, you're burying it. If you hug a body, bones must crunch and crumble. You are destroying it. It is a burying of the self, a burying of the individuality, a burying of a physical husk, so that its contrast, the spirit, can then live on in God. Love is then our Lord's love. If you destroy your whole physical being, which all of this suffering and pilgrimage seems to be aimed at doing, if you do that, then you can experience divine love. Love is then our Lord's love. Something all-encompassing, something absolutely focused, something to which you submit. What do we think of Mahadevi? Anyone? You can be neutral about a lot of poetry, a lot of literature in these books. You can say, yeah. But you have to respect the intensity of this woman's feeling. You have to acknowledge that this grabs you. This provokes you. This blows your hair back. And the experience of that immediacy, of that power, is part of the point. Because that is the divine, that is the experience of divinity itself. That sense of being overwhelmed, that sense of being shocked, that sense of, oh my God, what was that? That's the immediacy of the sensation that she seems to want, that she seems to experience in worship, and that the absence of which leaves her feeling desperate and lost and motivated to go through all of the suffering that she catalogs throughout.